Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown coming at you from Oaxaca, Mexico. It's my wife's 40th birthday. We decided to make a trip. You know, being gone, this is the first show in 5 days. It's the first time we've done that since January when we started the show. Just made me appreciate how much I like the daily cadence of the show. So we'll try to keep coming at you. But let's talk about NFTs. It was, a pretty eventful week. I think I'm going to focus mainly on Jack Butcher just because I think he's probably the best story going on in NFTs right now. Certainly the best story over the weekend. Some really punchy art sales and a whole lot more. Let's get right into it. Starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes were pretty much flat over the weekend. Not a whole lot to see there. Market share, as is always the case right now with Blur, about 72% over the past 5 days. Here's a look at Blur users. You can see that we're up a little bit from kind of those low points we were at the beginning of May. Still down even from, if you go back all the way to the first couple of weeks of Blur's launch, fewer buyers now than we had then, but up a little bit over the past few weeks. One thing I wanted to look at was ETH versus WETH. I always think it's really important. Are people dumping into bids or are people buying the NFTs they want? Here, this chart looks at NFTs that are over 1 ETH traded on Blur. You can see about 75% recently have been dumped into bids. So that's not a great trend, but it really feels like a player versus player market out there right now when you look at a lot of the main collections. In terms of the prices, large cap index pretty flat over the past few days. This kind of goes back 5 days, a little bit of strength in World of Women Gutter, weakness in Doodles. I think we're seeing some follow-on selling there from someone who sold about 350 a couple weeks ago. Mid-cap index down a little bit, starting to give back some of that rebound rally that we've had there. Did have strength in Chimpers, in Opepin, Rumble Kong, MFers. So nice to see that. One project I did want to call it was Nakamigos. You can see this has completely kind of rebounded. Price went from about 0.2 ETH to about 0.7 ETH. What drove that? I wanted to look at who are the buyers and sellers. You can see here that one wallet over the past 5 days is bought 510 Nakamigos. If you dig a little bit further, the wallet that buy it wasn't it, but all those were transferred to Ben.eth. And we know that Ben.eth has just raised a ton of money for these tokens that he's launching. And through that, you're just starting to see that kind of funnel into certain NFT projects. So I think that was really what drove a lot of this Nakamigos strength. In terms of art projects, this just looks at the past 24 hours. Only 2 projects did more than 10 ETH of volume, Chromie Squiggles and Archetypes. Archetypes had 1 sale. Then you had close to 10 ETH of volume is Strands of Solitude by William Upon. Looking at a few of the bigger sales, we had a Fuzzy Squiggle sell for 16 ETH, Archetype for 11, an Anti-Cyclone for 6.4. And this is called the Poppy Field palette in this Memories of Qilin in the lower right. Really kind of nice palette. And that sold for 6.9 ETH. So a bit of movement in art blocks. Nice to see that. Second thing I want to talk about was Jack Butcher. His entire ecosystem was just in focus over the weekend, kind of in all different directions. Let's start off with this element sale that he did. He did an auction of a bunch of NFTs. We started with the 3 that he sold on Christie's, and then he auctioned the rest to public. This is the least rare type with the checks of the various colors. And you can see that those sold anywhere from the 2 to 3.3 ETH range in those auctions. At the very end of the range was this alpha piece. This was the 4th of the one-of-ones that were in that 4 section. The 3 sold on Christie's, and this was sold for 22.69 ETH at the high end. And remember, all of these come with prints. Now, if you look at where they've been selling on the secondary market, the recent sales, the floor is around 6.2 ETH, but the sales have been kind of in that 4.5 to 6 ETH range for the lowest tier. So very nice trade for anyone who bought these on auction, instantly up about 50% or more. Gotta love to see that. A little bit more about this. Jack raised over 400 ETH on these auctions. There were prints included, so that's a very cool perk, really high-end prints. One of the reasons I personally want to get one, didn't end up winning the auction, but it was one of the reasons I was bidding, is because I would love to have one of these on our walls. The floor quickly rose, and then the top sale, again, 22.69 ETH. So congrats all around there. The next thing with Jack Butcher's ecosystem, and just as exciting, was for Opepins. They launched them, these 200 batches of 80, and they had launched the first 2, and especially that first one was just fetching crazy prices. Jack came out and announced that they're doing batches 3 and 4, and one of them was done by Batstew. Batstew is an artist that Jack has long admired, and these are what the Batstew pieces ended up looking like. The fourth collection was with Visualized Value. I'm not actually sure what makes Visualized Value different from Jack Butcher, because Jack Butcher is the person behind Visualized Value, but these are just beautiful Koopmans. I really think these are awesome outputs. And that was the 4 section. Now, both of these, and remember, everybody who has an Koopman that has not yet been minted into art can sign up for any of these works. And basically, Batstu and Visualized Value were both basically infinitely sold out. Everybody wanted them. I think Batstu maybe a little bit higher, but pretty much everybody wanted both. I think there's broadly this idea that the earlier ones are the ones that are going to get more provenance, so you might as well try to get those if you can. The other thing is that Batstu threw in this Koopman taking a bong hit, vaping, basically as a drop to anybody who got those 80 Batstu Koopmans. Now the sales went incredibly well, 100, tons of times oversubscribed. Here were some of the top sales. You can see that one in the top left, Visualized Value. That piece sold for 8 ETH, and this was a 1 of 40. So we're looking at a 1 of 40 in the 4th project, least rare, already selling at 8 ETH. So really kind of starting to get value deeper into this ecosystem. You had a Batstu, a 1 of 5 that sold for 9.69 ETH, and a couple more here that sold, the one in the lower right for 5.69, and the one in the lower left for a bit more than 8.8. So just incredible strength from this ecosystem that just seems to continue. Koopman prices really rallied into this opportunity to get the 3rd and 4th. They've fallen since then, but we're still looking at a floor price above 0.75 ETH, which is basically the highest that we have been until this rally. So just incredible strength from that ecosystem. My kind of overall takeaway, one is Jack is clearly one of the most innovative people in the space right now. All you have to do is look at Visualized Value. The work he's done, it just really kind of speaks to, I think, to people. You look at that and you see yourself in a lot of his work. And he's just continuing it. So it's awesome to see that. There is a lot of supply, though. There's 16,000 Koopmans. There are a lot of checks. He's creating a lot of work. I've personally lost a little bit of faith in longevity of projects that have a ton of supply, but he is proving me wrong. He is showing us all, how he can maintain the attention, how he can innovate further and further. I think that what you're seeing now is that these early projects, those first 80, are really turning into grails. We're seeing these kind of follow-on projects also have pretty high value. And there are just so many ways to keep people engaged here. Maybe people are going to want to collect one of each. Maybe people are going to want to get like one of the 1 of 20s of each. Like there's so many different ways that you could have ongoing demand for these projects. So I personally don't own any, but overall it's hard to argue with what's going on here. And they're also, that last thing I said, there's a 30 ETH offer on the Visualized Value 1 of 1, which would be, I believe, the highest Koopman sale to date. Next thing I wanted to talk about was this Claire Silver drop that she did with RSTLSS. Kind of figured out, took me a little while, but I figured out that means restless. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Anyways, they minted this out. This was done last Friday, but I didn't want to go, or maybe even Thursday, but I didn't want to go back and touch on it. Here's a bit of the art. Now, basically, each piece of art also came with a corresponding garment. So Restless is in kind of the digital fashion space. So this was a combination of Claire Silver and her AI art with this digital fashion brand and company. A little bit more about it. There were 2,136 mints. There were 183 pieces of art, and each of those pieces of art had various editions. The way it works is that art, that image is first displayed on a screen, but you also get a garment. And that garment, you can basically push a button on the first piece to see that second one. There are visuals and music that change by the time of day. Also, you're going to be able to unbind the garment and the image. So you have separate NFTs. That's coming soon. Hasn't quite happened yet. In terms of prices, the mint was at anywhere from 0.13 to 0.2 ETH, depending on if you were in the public or if you had a pass or whatnot. So it's kind of in that range. There were sales as high as 3 ETH, and the floor is now 0.1 ETH. But it is fun to kind of look through this art. I just think it's really cool work. It's very kind of classic Claire Silver, but also like very with a little bolder, more saturation, more color. So it's pretty awesome work. So congrats to them on that sale. Yeah, cool stuff. And then lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales. One PFP, a bunch of 101s. Starting off with a PFP, this Medusa DeGod sold for 88.33 ETH. Just a massive sale. That is the second highest Medusa, or second highest DeGod sale that we've seen since DeGods came to the Ethereum ecosystem. The number one was this 99 ETH one. We talked about that earlier, the stolen one that was sold back, kind of the 1 of 1. And then the second was the 70 ETH. So certainly, serious value for this 88 ETH sale. In terms of the 1-on-1 space, OSF just had massive sales over the weekend. This piece, Professional Degen, sold for 62 ETH. Very cool piece. Very timely. Kind of talks about how we're all wrecked, and we're all pretty wrecked. So pretty timely piece, and just someone bid and won. This was a secondary sale, so that's pretty awesome. And then the second one, the one on the right, this one sold for 28 ETH. So both just massive for this market. If you look at OSF sales till now, he's had a bunch in the 35 to 40 ETH range, but this 62 ETH sale was certainly higher than any of the recent sales. So congrats to everybody for that. Next, I want to talk about this piece called Flowering of Additions by Ryan Koopmans, Botto Project, and Alice Wexell. Sold for about 16 ETH. Very awesome project. Go check it out on Super. It has music, it has movement, just has really nice ambiance that I really enjoyed. A little bit about it. The core image was taken in Poland. It was a once grandiose but now decaying building, which is kind of the theme for a lot of Ryan Koopmans' work. What they basically did was they looked at Botto Project, an AI project governed by a DAO, where they basically took a bunch of fragments, which is pieces that Botto Project has created but has not yet published, and they found 10 of them that were voted on by the DAO that they wanted to include in this piece. From those 10, the artists, Alice and Ryan, selected 7 of those. And you can see in the image that they put a lot of this Botto Project work into those images. And I think there's just kind of this theme of decay, of life kind of decaying that they wanted to carry through both the Botto Project work as well as the image. This quote says it revitalizes not only the discarded Botto pieces used in the artwork, but also the decaying architectural interior captured in the photograph. Really beautiful piece. Again, I recommend go seeing the full thing on your own. And then lastly, one final sale to talk about, HypnoMoire. This piece sold for 9.2 ETH. This is by Sarah Zucker, The Sarah Show. A few of her other top sales. She's had a bunch of sales ranging from 1 to 25 ETH, but here are some that have been 12 ETH or more. This piece, 9 ETH, still kind of towards some of those higher end, that higher end of the range that she's had. Just a little bit about Sarah. Interdisciplinary art practice merges humor, myth, and mysticism with the interplay of cutting edge and obsolete technologies. She actually, cool fact, she was a Jeopardy champion in September of 2013. I think this is the first person I've talked about in the space who was on Jeopardy and who won. So congrats to Sarah 10 years later for that. But anyways, congrats to her for the sale. Congrats also to the buyer. Very cool piece. Love to see that. That is all from me today. We'll be back tomorrow and every weekday, except for the weekdays we're not here. But most of the weekdays we're here. Just the public holidays we're not. But if you like the video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell us what you think in the comments. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.